What's up, yo, everybody? This is Mango here with our 2020 World Champion. Go ahead and introduce yourself. That's too much for me already.
All right, yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm BT Majorge in the game. Um, and so, yeah, I've been playing Shadow Era for a few years now, and I'm in the um, Guild Black Templars. And so, this World Championships was just a couple days ago, and I brought a Blood Playing deck um, to this tournament.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, everybody knows about the Lackmeyer and the advantages that it gives the Wolvens right now. Well, unfortunately, just two of them, because Moonstalker who's getting screwed over, but nobody really seems to care because everybody has a real bad taste in their mouth from that guy. Nobody really likes Moonstalker.
Mhm.
All those years of stall Moon always, pissing you off and running you out of cards, so nobody really cares. But everybody was convinced. I mean, except for me and Cass, because Cass, I mean, he's asked me. He goes, "Hey, who do you think's gonna win the World Championships?" I was like, whoever's playing Darklaw, which was like half of the people playing. And and then I also said, but you know what? It never turns out to be what we think. It never turns out to
Mhm.
be what we expect. And ended up working out that way again. Ended up being that the the expected winner got totally thrashed by you. I mean, you lost one game out of the five, but even that one, I mean, that one it just seemed like you had a really bad draw, maybe. And otherwise, especially the third win was so convincing. It was like, oh damn, this is over. What happened? So, I
Mhm.
mean, obviously you've been playing this deck for a while, but what made you say, you know what, this is gonna probably be the best bet to take me over the top?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so like, uh, I've been heavily inspired by a lot of my guildmates. There's this player in my guild, BT Sigismund, and he won the World Championships in 2018. And he has he gave me some great advice. He was just like, um, you don't want to play, uh, you don't necessarily want to play the top deck. Um, you want to try and find a deck that can beat the top deck, and um, and then also a deck that can just do well generally. So one of the things that I was looking for was a deck that can beat. Um, I think this scenario for this World Championships was a little bit unique because in 2018 you knew there was going to be Javelin and every deck was going to run Javelin. Then in 2019 you knew that Elementalis was going to be like a very popular hero with Golden Lace Shield. And then this year it's a little bit um, murkier because there were like three favorites going into the World Championships, and so I was looking for a deck that could um, not necessarily have an instant win matchup against any of them, but have a chance against all three of those top heroes. And the problem with running one of the top heroes for me was I was worried that it would give me a really bad matchup. Um, so if I brought Dark Claw, maybe I would run into a Vic and lose, get knocked out that way. And so for Bloodfang in particular, I think it's nice because it has more allies, so it can um, generally deal with Vic a little bit
Okay.
better. I didn't run into any Vic, so I can't confirm whether this would actually happen. But and then as a trade-off, it is a little bit worse against Hiram, I would say, compared to Dark Claw because I don't run any weapons. But for me, that trade off was worth it because I felt like if I can have a decent game against all three of the top heroes, then I have a good chance.
Okay. Let me see. Give me 1 second here. Unfortunately, what I was trying to do here was to have your I was trying to have your games playing in the background, but since I'm so new at this, every time I try to do that, it eliminates my commentary. So I'm just gonna have to talk to you and leave the good old backdrop of the game on. Let me see. I'm gonna go ahead and just get some games playing in the back. Was there any point? I mean, because it seems like like honestly for me it was a matter of I was looking at it from an outside perspective. Obviously, I'm not as good as you or anyone that was in the top 12. And so for me, it was a matter of I would have thought that Dark Claw generally would be too fast for Bloodfang. Would you think that most
Mhm.
people would think that? Because Bloodfang's game generally develops in the mid game, whereas Dark Claw seems to get started and rolling a little bit faster, right? So am I wrong in thinking that, or are other people wrong in thinking that?
I think there's like some, yeah, there's definitely a lot of logic in that. I mean, Bloodfang is tied for one of the most expensive hero abilities. It costs 5 Shadow Era to even use him. So you're bringing in your hero late into the game, and Darklaw can have a weapon out and start using his hero ability by turn 3. So it is a little slower in like the very early stages of the game before the hero powers live. Um, but I would say to compensate for that, the Bloodfang turn 5 is very, very strong because you bring out a free fatty and then you've still got usually 5 resources to do other things, which can usually slap attachments on that fatty and clear the board. So um, you can have a very explosive turn 5, which is not too late in the game where like you're just going to get overrun.
Hmm. Yeah, cause okay, so I'm wrong basically.
Well, I would say you not really because like it is slower, but it's more explosive is what I would say, I guess. So it seems like it's really really fast, but really if you think about it like turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, it's really setting up. It's kind of slow. And then you just explode on turn 5. Um, and I would say maybe Dark Claw can have potential to like already have a convincing board with like a weapon out and stuff a little bit earlier.
Okay, yeah, because Cass had at one point we had even mentioned, Dark Claw is just so explosive because there was points in other games we were watching where it seemed he was falling behind, but then all of a sudden in 3 turns it wins, and
Mm-hmm.
so it just kind of felt like, well, how is that going to be any different against Bloodfang? And we
Mm-hmm.
couldn't really explain it, but obviously it was a lot different because you were just completely annihilating any Bloodfang that you came across. One thing he also said is he thought that uh, just in his reckoning, he was pretty sure that you were the first person he saw playing this style. Is that, as far as you know, is that correct?
I believe so. I did look on the forums recently, and there have like Haste Bloodfang is not like a novel idea. I think there was a forum deck before it. I didn't know about this when I was making the deck for the first time, but yeah, I think though for me, um, I was actually playing this on the test server when the changes were coming out. At
Oh
the
wow.
very end, yeah, we had a pop up, and so actually Um, yeah, the story is like the changes had already been sent to Kyle, but then there was a pop up on the test server. So um, that was the first time I really put this deck together, and it was like it was actually more similar to the build I brought to the World Championships than the Bloodfang I brought to Slugfest. Um, but yeah, that was the first iteration of the deck, and it won the pop up on that test server. So uh, and I think yeah, other players um, were mostly thinking about using Black Mirror and Prophet with Darklaw at that time, and not Bloodfang yet.
Well, even in the WC, only you and Otto, as far as I'm aware, actually brought this deck, whereas like 10 people brought Dark Law, or maybe more than that. So that didn't really
Mm-hmm.
change too much. But why don't we go back to the origins? What I mean, maybe you can give a little insight for people because there's going to be a lot of new people hopefully that would be looking at this, or people intermediate people that might watch this, and like give them insight as to your approach when you sit down and go, you know what, I'm going to actually try to build a deck that will win, as opposed to sometimes you just put a deck together and be like, let me just put all the women in here and see what happens, or all the horses or dogs or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, you want to give any insight as to how you approach that?
Yeah, sure. I think the main thing to think about is like the win conditions, and so for me, Yeah, I was thinking about, Profit can bring a lot of flexibility and search attachments. Um, oh yeah, okay, I guess I should explain this. The main reason this deck even like came together was because I actually don't remember the exact month, but early on in the season, there was a balance patch, and they changed Sorcerer, they changed um, Woven Prophet, and they changed a couple other cards like Unaxu Squire and stuff. So everybody was experimenting with those cards because the cards that change are going to be kind of like the cards that might be able to shake up the meta. So I started with Woven Prophet and thought about like what attachments can I even search. Um, so I just looked at the deck editor and I looked for all the attachment cards um, in the game that are available to Woven Heroes. And so it included attachments like Will to Fight. And so that, makes you start thinking about how can you use these attachments like Midnight Howl and Will to Fight um, effectively. Because actually, a lot of the woven attachments aren't usually considered that good. Like Captured Prey is all right, but it's expensive compared to like Crippling Blow or some other similar attachments from other heroes. So it's never been considered like an amazing card. And so looking at all these attachments like Will to Fight, um, Captured Prey, these cards aren't necessarily good, but because they can be searched for profit for free, then you can start thinking about using them more effectively, um, especially with Lakmir. So that was, I guess, the second innovation is realizing that with these Woven heroes, you're playing a lot of Woven allies, and you can use this location to bring out these attachments for free. And then the third part for Bloodfang in particular is now that you know what kind of attachments you can play, and if you want to play attachments like Will to Fight and Midnight Howl, you start thinking about what cards work well with these attachments. And for me, the answer was high attack allies, because if you can haste an ally with a high attack, you're going to get more value out of that haste than if you hasted, say, an ally that has like 2 or 3 attack. So uh, that was kind of the logic chain, and it led me to Bloodfang um, because of the fact that Bloodfang can run a lot of those allies with high attack and bring them out for free with the hero power. So then you can just haste them and get a lot of value out of those hasting cards.
Okay. And the of course, there's a big I would say most people would say that the usual deck should be what 40, 41 cards, whatever, whatever. It's something close to the 40 point just for consistency's sake. Obviously, you went into this a little more in depth in your post, and I'll probably put a link to that so that people can read a little more in depth. But do you want to, what was it that made you go, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and go over this a little bit and just see how this goes? What made you decide to go ahead and go over that limit, almost hitting 50 cards?
Mhm. Yeah, well, I guess there are 2 reasons. One of them didn't really end up happening. But the first reason is there's some matchups like against Xana that can really go for quite a long time, even with such an explosive deck like Bloodfang, because Xana can just heal up the hero, and then tidal wave your boards, and so you end up playing, um, like throughout the season, I've been playing Bloodfang. I brought it to Slugfest and um, Champions League and basically all the tournaments that I could. And so I faced Xana a lot in those tournaments, and my experience was if you have a 40 card deck, you're likely to deck out and then lose the game that way. So that was the first reason. I was expecting maybe some more slower matchups. That can even potentially happen with Vic if both Vic and Bloodthing have um, like a long game. So I was a little bit worried about having enough fuel to last into the end game. And you wouldn't think that, like, normally you wouldn't have to worry about that, but with Bloodfang, because of how much draw you have, you really cycle through the deck very fast. Um, so you have to be a little bit more concerned about the deck size than you would in other decks. But I didn't really run into any slower heroes, so that never mattered for the World Championships. Um, and so for me, the second reason was just I think it's a little bit more important to have a balance between abilities and allies than it is to have like a 40 card deck. Because if you try to cut my deck list a little, um, you run into a problem where if you cut like 4 allies, or if you cut 8 allies out of the deck to get it to 40 cards, you're not going to have enough allies to actually use Lackmere, because Lackmere requires you to control an ally. So if you can't draw into an ally, then Lackmere's worthless, and also all your attachments are worthless because most of your attachments boost your allies. Likewise, if you try to cut the deck down to 40 cards by cutting out 8 abilities, um, it would be tough as well because then you'd have a bunch of allies, and then you'd have Lackmere but no abilities to use with Lackmere and attach to your allies. So your allies are a little weaker too. So and then cutting a mix was just something that I had a hard time doing because I feel like the list is already um, like it would be hard to cut out even a couple will to fights, for example, because they're just so crucial um, to the deck that I felt like it was easier to have a little bit of a larger deck to get that balance correct.
Yeah, from my count here, it looks like you actually. I've been looking. I loaded up the deck. It's going to be people are going to see me looking through it. It looks like you have 20 allies, and then you have four haste options or eight haste options total to be able to haste in your allies for that damage. And you're right. It just doesn't
Mm-hmm.
seem like you would want less than that. Otherwise, what's the point, right? I mean, that's the whole.
Mm-hmm.
That's the engine behind the deck is being able to summon the big allies, utilize the location for a free Will to Fight or a free Midnight Howl so you can actually have impact every time. I mean, because summoning a 6 cost ally is a big investment, and for Crusher, generally, I mean, to be honest, he just doesn't last long. 4 health, right? He's usually going to be gone. So
Right.
if you can't get any value out of him at the next turn, it's pointless. So obviously, I
Mm-hmm.
can see why you need to go with your maxing out the haste abilities to be able to utilize them immediately. I had said in the stream, I was like, there's no way he has less than 4. And they're like, everybody was like, oh, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 3, probably 3. I'd be surprised for him. Like, he has 48 freaking cards in his deck. Why wouldn't he have 4? Like, it wouldn't make any
Right.
damn sense. Like, all these freaking cards. What ended up being an MVP for me that didn't really show up very much though was Den Mother. I was surprised
Mm-hmm.
just uh, how helpless Darklaw was when you put that card down. And it was like, wow, he can't do anything to get rid of this card. And it almost felt like a sorcerer of India against maybe like a Vest or something. It's like, oh my god, this thing's sticking, I'm dead. But it was
Mm-hmm.
worse because there was like no ability damage that he was able to do. He couldn't ever attack it except with allies. Well, you can't even attack it with allies, right? Can't
Mm-hmm.
be attacked. Period. So you need to utilize ability damage, and Darklight just has none. Did you realize that this was going to be like as just not threatening as just demoralizing as it ended up being in that one game where it really showed up? Because I think it was only one game where it showed up, and then it was just like he just had nothing he could do.
Yeah, I mean, it was I kind of suspected it had a really strong passive against Darklaw, but I didn't expect it to be very effective because um, any strong passive can be disabled by the non-controller ability of Lackmire. So I kind of like just assumed it would get disabled and just really considered adding it because it has 6 attack, and it is 5 cost ally, and so that is like helpful for the curve um, and yeah, I thought the passive would be nice to have for sure, but what I didn't realize was that when I don't have the location out, it really does become something you just can't deal with unless you have ability damage. And so yeah, it was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, you were sitting there probably thinking, oh my god, he can't do jack to me. Like he's screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. In regard, let's see, what else do we have to look at here? Looking at the Red Riding Hood, I was surprised about. You did it just for the attack boost. I mean, but obviously, for newer players, so they know, it actually all woven allies, because it says other woven allies and wild allies have +1 attack. And going into a matchup where you are going into a tournament where you know Dark Claw is going to be around and he's going to have woven allies, everybody should know, newer players should know that this card will buff your opposing allies too if they're woven. Did that
Mhm.
have any? That didn't play any part in your mind whatsoever? You decided to include it for the buff and the draw options, and just figured whatever buff your opponent has, you just deal with it because it basically is a wash with you both having that attack bonus.
Yeah, for sure. Like I wasn't really thinking that much about buffing the opponent. Like it's annoying, and actually it was relevant because there were a couple of games where my opponent used like that attack buff to actually kill Dark Riding Hood or another one of my allies. But at the end of the day, I think it helps me more than the opponent because I can haste it in, and I have a lot of control over whether it even comes onto the field or not. So if it's like if my opponent has a bunch of Woven allies on the field, I won't play it. I'll probably sack it. Or if I can get it down while I have a lot of Woven allies and my opponent has a clear board, then it's just really good for that attack buff, like you said, because this deck runs a lot of lower cost Woven allies, and so you've got cards like Woven Prophet that aren't very threatening on one attack, but all of a sudden with Dark Riding Hood, it's got two attack and it's like twice as threatening. So then the other part and the real reason why, because I wasn't running this before in my Slugfest build, so I added it in because I went from Death from Above and Torn Apart to Eye of the Forest. And there's a neat interaction where you can actually use Eye of the Forest to attack with Dark Riding Hood. And that's useful because Dark Riding Hood's other ability, aside from giving all Wolven allies one attack, is it also lets you draw cards from the top of the opponent's deck when it deals combat damage. And because you can haste it and you can use Eye of the Dark Forest, you can often actually get quite significant card advantage with Dark Riding Hood.
Yeah, I actually I put on the background when your most recent played game where you played against a Yithin, and you all of a sudden I wasn't paying attention. I look up and there's an integral no, there was a fortified wisp on your field, and I was like, what the hell? He's That's kind of
Mhm.
a weird change to make to the deck, but whatever. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's not it's not his damn card. And I realized, oh, that's right. He can steal the cards with that. And I only saw that really come up once in the finals. It kind of seems like she
Mhm.
faded away. And I think you touched on it again in your post. If you had to change something, would you still run it, or do you think you would put something else in? And if you were going to replace it, what would it be?
I do think it's very marginal. It she like really works well sometimes and doesn't work so well other times. So uh, I mean, I think I would probably consider um, replacing her uh, given what I know now, because like you said, she is a little bit harder to play when your opponent is also running Dark Claw decks. But I think if I didn't know that I was gonna be basically only playing against Dark Claw decks, and I was more worried about like Vic and Xana and some other decks, I would run her. And given that there was such a dominance of Wolven decks, I think there are other Wolven allies that are a little bit stronger against other Wolven decks. So maybe just more Wolven scouts or even yeah, another Wolven ally would be fine. So yeah, I would consider replacing her. But again, I think it's like a meta dependent thing. So like it's not that Dark Riding Hood isn't a good card. It's like it depends on the situation. She's good in the right situations. And so feeling out the meta and trying to like determine the card choices is really important.
Gotcha, gotcha. You said you started doing this in the test server, so that was some time ago. I mean, we're talking what, like a year, maybe? And at
Mm-hmm.
what point would you say that you were like, you found yourself playing and you were going, you know what? I think I have something here.
Yeah, I mean, I just enjoy the play style, so I've been bringing it to a lot of tournaments, and I think uh, like I knew it was competitive basically as soon as I started playing it, but I like never really considered it to be um, like a top deck until recently. And the reason why is like you you've got like this really explosive you've got really explosive turns where you can like basically play your entire hand and deal you know just enormous damage to the opponent's hero. But uh, there have been like a couple issues when I've been running this deck in QM and also in tournaments where a lot of people were running Towering Brute and they were running Rexnarian Soldier.
Oh, damn.
And both of those cards, yeah, they really shut down Bloodfang, so Haste Bloodfang, because then you've got your Midnight Howl and your Will to Fight that are both completely useless. And so that was part of the reason actually behind running Torn Apart and Death from Above. It's because there were heroes that would run Towering Brute, and if they played Towering Brute, you basically lost the game without these abilities to kill Towering Brute because it's unaffected by items if it's damaged, even including Eye of the Dark Forest.
Yeah.
So I think it started getting really powerful when people stopped running those anti-haste techs.
So for people that don't know, again, so he's talking about the ally of, let me see, what the hell is he called? This is a problem I had the whole first day. I couldn't remember the damn card's name. So I'm like, this is sad. I've been playing this game for over a decade.
There's two different ones,
Yeah,
actually.
Braxnorian
One's
Soldier.
human.
Hmm.
Yep.
And so I have it up right now so people can see that all allies lose haste. And of course, the deck is focused on haste. And so
Mm-hmm.
that would just completely wipe you out. And which is why you decided to, as you said, run Torn Apart. And that's right. The uh, Towering Brute actually got a buff in a way, right? So what is it? Minus
Mm-hmm.
4 attack?
Yeah, I believe so.
I mean, it's a
And
big.
it's got
Let me
yeah,
see.
it's got 6 health, and it can't be targeted by the abilities of allies and items, I believe, when it's
Yes.
damaged.
Yeah,
So,
plus 2 attack while damaged. And opposing allies have minus 4 attack and meek. So you couldn't even go straight to the hero phase if you wanted. You would have to only go.
mm,
So everything you summon basically would have almost two attack or less, or 3 if you
yep.
did it with your ability. So yeah, I can see how all of a sudden. So, but luckily none of that made it in. No, nobody was playing Brax. Nobody was playing Towering Brute. And
Hmm.
let me see. Let me go back to. I already have your deck loaded up. Wait, where is it? Oh no, I lost it. Oh, okay. But yeah, that was also actually one of the other things we were talking about is how this deck, just like you said in the beginning, that some cards all of a sudden seem good now because captured prey. But before this deck came around, you almost never saw that. You never saw
Right.
anyone playing captured prey, and it was like this. You found a way to make a card that was basically irrelevant become one of the most hated cards in the game because all of a sudden you can seek it for free, like you said, and then cast it for free, and all of a sudden you have 4 allies on the board that are disabled and unable to do anything, and
Mm.
it's just suddenly it's this overpowering presence in the game. And I mean that you had to feel good coming up with something that changes the landscape completely because that's basically what you did. I mean, you completely changed the landscape when it comes to playing this game because you almost reintroduced cards that people had forgotten about or didn't care about.
Yeah, it definitely does. But I would say like it was bound to happen no matter what. I know a lot of players like to keep their deck lists secret, and they don't like sharing them because they're worried that their like secrets are gonna go out. But because like anyone can watch your match history, I find it's really hard to protect deck lists and ideas, and it's better to just be open about them, publish deck lists, and then uh, that way you can start getting feedback from other players. And I definitely got a lot of feedback from other players that I used to improve this deck for sure.
Yeah, who would you say was your biggest help on the long, or was it just like a concerted effort with your guild? Everybody just kind of giving you advice and being able to put this monster together in the end with multiple input from a bunch of people, or was there anyone outside the guild to help you out, or was it pretty much just a guild concerted effort?
I know there's a couple people in my guild who also play this deck, but um, like actually like BT Sig, Ismund, and some of the other like prominent members in Black Templars don't actually like this deck very much. So yeah, I did get some help from some other players too. Like I know Andy really likes playing Haste Bloodfang, and he runs a deck that's closer to 40 cards. And so he came up with like using Pathfinder's Machete in Bloodfang, which can be nice, and some other like twists on the deck that I thought were interesting. So yeah, there's a bunch of players who have been running Haste Bloodfang, and it's neat to actually see different lists come out and see them do pretty well, actually.
So I noticed you don't have any item destruction in the deck. Was that just a calculated risk you decided to take? What led you down that road to say, you know what, I'm just going to focus on the allies and the damage, and if I run into that one random bastard that happens to have Snow Sapphire or Voice of Winter, uh, or I guess more commonly though, you'd be worried about running into something like Ankle Breaker or any weapon heroes. Uh, Obviously, you've played this game enough to decide to leave out any kind of item destruction. What was the final verdict that led you down that road?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think some item destruction would have been nice, but one of the things that I struggle with this deck, even now, is sometimes it's really hard to make that the decision of what card to sacrifice, um, because you'll often like be relying on these turns where you play Crusher, you play Lakmir, you play like one or two attachments, and then maybe a couple of allies. And so that's like 5 or 6 cards that you're going to be playing on one turn, and you have to hold all of them until like turn 5 at once. So it's already really hard to sacrifice cards, and um, and so with tech cards, I think a lot of decks have an easier time with tech cards, especially more traditional decks, because they don't have to play every card in their hand on one turn. They can kind of wait. It's less combo oriented with the location coming out and then spamming cards. So they can afford to maybe hold on to techs easier from turn to turn. But it's really hard to hold on to that tech because if for example Snow Sapphire that you mentioned, that only comes out very late into the game. So if I draw it early, it's going to be really hard for me to keep onto say Acid Jet until my opponent actually plays that Snow Sapphire. And so I just found that it was not super necessary because there aren't a ton of items in the game that really will shut down um, Bloodfang, because you can still haste your allies out and deal damage that way. And especially Snow Sapphire, um, because you're dealing damage in the early and mid game, your opponent will already be low on health. And then if you're summoning a fatty with Bloodfang's ability, you're going to have 7 attack on that ally. And that can go over the 2 defense. Even if that ally gets frozen, you're still going to deal 5 damage to the face. Um, so there weren't a lot of items I was too worried about. So that's kind of why I decided to just not run any item destruction.
So let's see, what was I gonna ask? What else? In the finals, when you're going up against someone that also has the location, something I was wondering was how much, or at what point were you holding a location, awaiting him to play his? I mean, knowing that he probably has a location in hand, did that at any point dictate when you played yours? Were you looking for the more optimal time to do so, or how were you judging when you should and shouldn't play your location so that you can get the best value out of it?
I definitely was. I think it is it's kind of like a mind game because the opponent might not even have Lakmir in their hand. So in that case, you're just missing out on an opportunity to play a bunch of attachments. Um, but the way I kind of approached it was I actually tried uh, like delaying some of the opportunities I had to play attachments, and instead opting to play or summon allies onto the field. So, like on turn 3 in Bloodfang, for example, you can either choose to play Lakmir and then discount Confluence and play Confluence, or what I would like to do is play Wolven Tinkerer or Wolven Scout on turn 3 instead to just kind of delay even further that play of Lakmir. Because if I can just wait one more turn, and then if my opponent's forced to play Lakmir, then I can play my Lackmere on top of their Lackmere, and then not only cover their Lackmere, but also be able to use Lackmere on turn 4 or turn 5, which is still all right.
Yeah, so there is mind games there. That's what I was wondering because there was a time where I think you played a location and then he played it, and then
Mhm,
I'm like, I wonder like, how long were they holding on to this? Like, was this something they were really waiting for to see who would go
mhm,
first? Let me
right.
see. And I see. What would you say is the biggest weakness to this deck? Like, if you ran into on, if you're on ladder, or if you were in the tournament scene, like if you're still in the world championship and you were coming up against someone, but was there a matchup where you were just gonna be like, oh like damn, this is not good. Like I could be in real trouble here.
Yeah, for sure. Really, I think the biggest threat to this deck is going to be the anti-haste text. So anything that runs Braxtonorian Soldier or Towering Brute is going to have an advantage against Bloodthang. But yeah, if outside of that, because that kind of requires some specific text, I think a lot of the matchups are pretty even. It's not like yeah, um, it's not a deck like I purposely chose the deck so that it wouldn't automatically lose to a deck. So I think it would have at least a chance against everything in the World Championships. I know TJ Dub Dub brought a very interesting Aramia that I
Yeah.
might have trouble with because of his use of this card called Distortion Harness. Um, so that could be troublesome. But yeah, I think like in general, at least for the decks that were brought to the World Championships, there weren't any that were huge problems that would be like game enders or if I ran into them. They might be tough matchups, but not ones that I think I have no chance in. I will say that the lack of rogues that run ill-gotten gains is a nice thing with Bloodfang. So I see Garth on ladder quite a bit, and Garth can have a decent matchup against Bloodfang too, um, because I don't run item destruction. If Garth can set up with ill-gotten gains, I have no way of dealing with that, and so they can get
Ah.
a lot of card advantage very easily. And Ankle Breaker slows down the deck a bunch. Garth often runs Braxtonorian Soldier, so Garth can be a troublesome matchup for Bloodfang.
So what you're trying to tell me is you're completely winless against Shadow Man.
Yeah, I think I've actually played against Shadow Man and lost with Blood Thing. So,
Everyone plays against Shadow Man and loses. I don't know what you're talking about. 80 card deck, 120 card deck, doesn't matter. Somehow the guy bastard always beats you. He really pisses me off with that turn 3, what's that, Aldemar Artisan, and then
mhm,
turn 4 Ill-Gotten Gains. I swear to God he does it to me every time.
right.
Really pisses me off. I hate that guy. Hey, speaking of which, what do you say about playing maybe one game?
Sure, yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna play Garth since you told me all that.
Okay.
Let me see.
Um,
I'm just gonna load up a quick Garth. I'm not very good at deck building, so you shouldn't have anything to worry about. Let me see. I'm gonna play a 60 card Garth because I'm only 75% the man that Shadow Man is. What do I have in here? I don't even know what I have. Damn, I have ground shift in here. That's how old this deck is. Let me see. I'm gonna get rid of some of the ground shift though. Or should I? No, I'm keeping the ground shift. That's right. Mr. Location here. I'm keeping the ground shift. Let me see. And I'm gonna go ahead. I'll create a game. Password.
all
Just
right.
gonna be three ones, 111. And maybe you can talk through your decision making after you make a play. You don't have to tell me what's going on in your hand or what you have in your hand because I
Mhm.
do want you to try to win. I don't know what the chances of that are going to be. You are playing me, so But but I
Sounds
mean,
good. Yeah.
all right. So we're on 47 card against 60 card, and uh, okay. I think I didn't get the artisan and ill-gotten gain, so I obviously don't have. Oh my God, I got all my two cost allies though. All right, let's see if I can play this semi decently. All right, do you guys in BT do you do a lot of like internals or a lot of testing with each other to try to ferret out the weaknesses of any decks you guys are trying to work on?
Yeah, we will play against each other sometimes in like unrated or something to uh to test out some of the decks for sure.
Who
Um,
who do you? I mean, you guys got. I mean, obviously you got a former champion in there already, and let me see who would you say is like your guys' maybe expert when it comes to deck building? That this is the guy I got to go talk to about this because I'm a little lost.
I think I am kind of known for playing like or making sort of meme decks. So yeah, I guess if you want like a creative build, would probably be me. You would try and find for like a competitive deck. Um, I would say that Sig has a really great eye for knowing what kind of um, for the meta. So Sig can like really tell what's popular and how to counter it. Most importantly,
Got it. So
so he's definitely someone I'll pick his brain a lot for advice.
okay, so one thing I did hear from Cass was that he said many times you'll see Bloodfang or Dark Claw, they'll actually skip their first sacrifice phase just so they get the utility out of the profit. Is that something that you've ever done? And if you have, why? Or if you haven't, why?
Yeah, it's something I kind of did that actually in this game.
Oh, you did.
Um,
I didn't even notice. I'm not even paying attention. Damn.
uh, but yeah, it's something that I think is kind of a smart play, just to get more value out of profit. And so yeah, I definitely do that.
It shows you how much I'm paying attention.
It is risky
Crazy.
sometimes. I know I did that in the first stage against Philip, and I regretted it very much because he played down a Blood Pack Shaman, and when you have one resource, you can't like do anything against the Blood Pack Shaman, so it really snowballed a lot of damage quickly. So there's risk for sure.
Okay, gotcha. And so generally, Garth always had an upper hand when it came to, hey, what the hell? That's not nice. For anyone that doesn't know, that card of his actually is pretty cool. It allows you to see the other player's hand. Anybody watching the stream would have saw that um, when it came to when we were playing. I feel like pretty good about the way this is going right now. Let me see. What should I do? Artisan. So you said you don't like seeing the ill-gotten gains, so of course that means I have to play it.
Yep.
So okay, so I'm gonna get rid of this. All right. So we're gonna seek. This is cool. This will let people see. This guy allows me to seek an ability just or an item, just like he's been doing, and then play it for reduced cost. And then I'm gonna play Owl. Then we're gonna use this guy to buff this guy's attack up. Come in here. Boom. Man, look at this. I should have been a world championship. You wouldn't have had a chance. Well, Garth doesn't do so well against Darkclaw, huh? Because Darkclaw seems to, for whatever reason, overrun him as well.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Here it
There's
comes.
some. Yeah.
Shit.
Let's see.
Okay, relax. Relax, guy. What's going on here?
Yeah, I'm it's hard to multitask. I'm impressed by your commentary while also playing. But
No!
yeah, yeah, I
All right.
think part of the reason we didn't see a lot of Garth in the World Championships is it can be a little bit. It has some tough matchups against some of the other top decks like Vic or other heroes that are very common.
Garth? Yeah, that was the crazy thing to me is that, I mean, I was absent for a while, maybe like 6 months or so, give or take. And when I had left, Vic was just Vic. It was no big deal. When I got back, all of a sudden Vic was this, oh, son of a shit. I'm screwed. I need to get my okay. Anyway, but yeah, when I came, oh, okay, yeah, this is turning out the way I thought it would. Okay, and so when I get back, all of a sudden Vic is like on fire and he's everywhere, and you're kind of like, well, I was just
Hmm.
like, wow, when did this happen? Like I really didn't see that come in at all. Is there any way you can enlighten me as to what was going on that all of a sudden Vic took off?
Yeah, it is a little puzzling because it's never been like it's always been a good hero, but it's never been like dominant. Or I mean, I shouldn't say that. But it's not a hero that you would consider normally to be like something that would be. I guess nothing changed about Vic really. It's still the same, so it is a little bit confusing why it's so good. I would say the main difference is Sorcerer. Um, and it doesn't seem like a huge change, but because Vic has Sorcerer, it covers a lot of Vic's weaknesses when it comes to items. Because hunters don't usually have item destruction or ability destruction, and so they can get stuck against heroes that use stuff like that.
Okay, come on, guy. Play,
Um,
play and talk. Play and talk.
all right,
What's
all
going on
right.
here? Jeez. Oh, prophets. That was dumb. I also got rid of my sorcerer, but with all the six attack allies, I don't think it would have mattered anyway.
I'm just trying to
Whew.
play and talk, and it's tough. I've just noticed when I started playing, I stopped talking. So.
Yeah, trust me. I know. I just noticed too. Oh. Okay. Yeah, this is going downhill real fast. And of course, my deck is just garbage anyway, so probably that probably has more to do with it than anything else. And I'm gonna just do this, and then pray. Next turn, I'll be able to. I don't have my ground shift. I have three ground shift in here. If I was Shadow Man, I would have had it already by now. This is absolute garbage. Tinker. Whew. Wow. Okay. And so what did you think your chances were with this deck when it came to playing in the World Championship? Or were you pretty, were you like, yeah, you know what, this might get me something? Or were you like, you know what, I think this is really gonna take me to the end there. Like I think I'm gonna be able to take it with this deck. Get, I lost already. Doesn't matter. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Cancel. Hey, you still there, brother? I think I might have lost you. Oh, we lost Georgie. Oh, Georgie. Get rid of this guy's stupid ability. And we're gonna do this. I've already lost. Gonna come in here, attack, go right here, shut that guy down for a little bit. 1, 2, and ooh, look at that. Let's see if he's still playing. If he's still playing, he's good. I'm looking at Discord. Georgie, we cannot hear you. I see the green like you're talking, but nothing's coming through, brother. At least it's not my fault this time. You know, I was the one blowing it before. Now it's him. Oh God, he's still gonna win though. Okay, maybe his girlfriend or something came home. She's like, "What the hell are you doing? You playing a game? I'm right here." Let me see. So let's go ahead, play this on that guy. Buff him up. Let's come in over here. Boom. This guy out. Him dead. Oh, he's not dead. He's got the stupid card on him. Takes one less damage. Damn it. Georgie! I have to talk to him in the game. We can't hear you anymore. Oh, damn, I turned off chat. Oh, what a failure. This is falling apart. Okay, I'm gonna try getting him on Telegram. Okay, well, hang on, let me get my turn down first. Okay, so we're gonna get rid of this because I got too much draw going as it is. Let's shut this guy down. What do I have attachment wise? I have attachments in this deck other than ALR. Let's see what I have. Ooh, another one. Ah, what the hell? Why not? And we'll attack into this guy. Bam. All right, end
Nice.
turn. Oh, you're back. We couldn't hear you.
Hopefully, yep.
We couldn't hear you for the
Uh,
last 2 minutes. What happened?
I don't know. I think it must have just kicked me out for some reason.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm sure you were saying really brilliant stuff, or you were just playing and didn't want to talk anymore because you can't do both at the same time. But that's fine. You left me here talking to myself. It's pretty. Hey, look what I finally got. Nice. All right, so let's get the hell rid of this, just for the hell of it. Goodbye.
Nice.
You're here. Let's go here, and let's do. I'm gonna do this. Is this what I'm gonna do? No, I'm gonna do this. All right, come in. What the hell? Oh, what a dumb. You see, that's why I'm not in because I'm wondering why isn't my card's ability working? Because I played ground shift. What a dumbass. And then I hit attack all button instead of attacking and killing your one ally that can actually do something. Wow, I'm absolutely terrible at this game. Oh, here comes the onslaught anyway.
Actually, I think ground shift might disable the haste, so this was probably a bad play.
Yeah, it will actually. Oh. Okay, so we're both looking bad. I don't mind looking bad as long as I'm not alone. Oh, I was getting rid of my stop thief. I think I totally forgot about the eye. Oh, okay. I don't know if I would spend four. I guess that's another good thing about the eye, right? Because I mean, it'd be kind of a tough decision to make to spend resource destruction on Eye of the Dark Forest.
Mhm.
That'd be pretty rough to decide to do that. Let me see. So let's go ahead and do this here, so we can get rid of that bastard. All right, and we will do. Actually, we'll do another one of these. So I'm barely hanging on here. You got that? All right. So let's see what happens here. Hey, I think I'm doing okay. I'm almost dead. So if you have haste right now, I'm probably gonna lose. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, you're doing pretty well. You're doing very well. Yeah, I actually am gonna pass here.
All right, let's see what I got. See what I can do. I'm gonna get rid of this because you don't have anything out for me to use on it. I'm going to try to stay alive, but first, look, I'm gonna do pro moves now. I'm not gonna use it first. Heal up a little bit. I'm going to do go here, here, and then this.
Ouch. Actually, ground shift is another tech uh, that can remove haste. I think. I'm
I'm
pretty
looking.
sure I won't be able to haste anything in.
Yeah, that was to hopefully be able to
I'll
win.
try it anyway.
But that should be game for me. Woo! This is
Yeah,
going.
maybe you should just be the world champion.
Yeah, I think we've pretty much established that I'm the best player in the world right now. But you know, what are you gonna do? The tournament's over. I wasn't around. They have technicalities to establish, or to get in. Blah blah blah. And hey, you know what? Sometimes people just do what they have to do to win. And that's exactly what I did. Because I talked to you long enough until I ferreted out the weakness to your deck, played you, and beat the crap out of you.
Well
But
played.
but yeah, whatever. I'm the best. Yeah. No, thanks, brother. I've played enough Bloodfang in my time to know too that anytime I went against Garth, it was like, ah, damn, like this is gonna be bad, and it always was. I mean, whenever you could pull it out against a rogue in general, it was always a good thing because it's pretty rough. And I'm probably gonna take a screenshot of this just so I can have the win of me against you in there. Uh, but no, thanks for playing a game with me,
Yeah.
even though it was into a bad matchup. And is there what would your words? I mean, we'll go ahead and close this out because I've already kept you here long enough. I'm sure you got a life and stuff to get to. Uh, what would
Sorry.
your final words be to new players? Anybody that comes across this and says, "Hey, I think this game looks like something I might have fun with." what would you tell them to have them stick around? Because I mean, you've been playing for a while. Obviously, I've been playing
Mhm.
since 2012, I think it is, and it's this is a game that I ended up finding my way back to maybe 3 times. I would always leave and come back. Other games I never did. What would you say to them is a reason to stick around, and what makes this game stand out over other ones?
Um, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, that, just don't do it again. We'll be fine.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's just a had a spotty connection there. But okay, in terms of so your question was about like new players.
Yeah,
Um,
what would your advice be to them in regards to the game to help them stick around and why they should stick around?
yeah, absolutely. I think like what keeps bringing me back to Shadow Era is the fact that the mechanics are so just they're are so much more unique and compelling to me than other card games I've come across. Especially with the resource sacrificing, I find that that's a really interesting decision where you have to really plan out your game ahead of time and be very careful. And yeah, it's you just have a lot of interesting decisions that you're constantly making, and I really enjoy that. I would say for newer players, the community in Shadow Era is smaller than other gaming communities, but that's actually for me like a big bonus because I've gotten to know a lot of people in Shadow Era pretty well now, and I feel like it's a small community but a tight community. You get to know the same people and play them again and again, and like build up a little bit of a rapport with other people, and it's really nice. I think, especially in Shadow Era, where you can actually like discover new combos because of the fact that it's not a game where there are millions of players and everything has already been discovered. So yeah, I think in terms of being a new player and being intimidated, Shadow Era is one of the friendlier games out there because a lot of the cards. I mean, actually, all the cards you can buy with gold, which is currency you make just by playing more. So you will eventually complete your collection. You'll you'll be able to then start, uh, making your own decks, and it's just a matter of putting in some time and yeah. Then eventually, I would say if you're a new player, joining the Telegram community and finding those other players that can help take you to the next level and staying with the game, which is pretty easy because it's a fun game, and so for me at least, I was pretty hooked.
All right, and I got one question, one last question for you. It's something I think I asked the last two people I interviewed. And it's a fun question because it always catches them off guard and it has nothing to do with the game. So, when it's late at night and you find yourself at your window staring at the moon, do you ever think, I wonder if Mango is looking at this same moon?
Um, I've never thought about that, if I'm being honest, but yeah, I guess like um, yeah,
See,
no,
caught you off
sorry.
guard. Exactly what
You
I
did
was
catch
going
me off
for.
guard. But only because that was such a weird question, I would say.
Yeah. Well, you imagine how much of a mess it would have been for you if you were playing. You might have just hung up. We wouldn't be able to find you. All right, brother. Well, you know what? This has been fun. I think it's something that a lot of people will be able to get some good insight from. You know, the front half was pretty informational. The back half was just a bunch of gameplay with someone who likes to pretend he knows what he's doing. And hey, I look good, so I'll take it. And
Yeah,
and I'm sure
for sure.
people. I'm sure people are going to play this deck. I mean, eventually we're supposed to get some balance changes, right? So we'll see what happens to this deck at that point. I mean, it's going to affect Dark Claw too. And again, I just appreciate you joining me with this. This went on a little longer than I expected it to, but it seems like you're into it and you're more than willing to jump in and help out people that would watch this and hopefully gain some insight into the game. And I know I appreciate you, man, and I appreciate the what you've shown us with your little concoction here, you and BT putting this thing together, and how it took you to the top. And we'll see we'll see how things play out and where you end up next year because you got your ticket right, so you're already going to be there, and then it's just a
Mhm.
matter of figuring out what you're going to play next time.
Absolutely. And thank you for putting this together. I think, yeah, I agree. A lot of people will hopefully listen to this or just your streams that you've been doing and everything you've been doing to reach out to the community and bring more awareness about Shadow Era and bring more people to the game. It's all very positive, and I'm excited for the future of Shadow Era. Uh, Hopefully, yeah, the game will keep growing and get more awareness so that more people can find out about this great game.
All right, brother. So again, thank you for being here. You got any last words you want to throw out there, or anything you want to say to whoever might be watching?
Um, just thank you for your time listening to me drone on and Mango drone on about Shadow Hera. If you made it this far, um, yeah, we appreciate that.
Oh hell no, I'm gonna break this into parts because nobody's gonna sit down and listen to this whole damn thing in one shot. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Georgie. Oh yeah. By the way, every time I read your name, for some reason I go BT Majorgi. Majorgi. I think it's just because I'm Mexican. I don't know. It might have something to do with that. But again, thank you. Congratulations again on your win, and look forward to seeing what comes from the future from you and the rest of you guys over there in BT.
Thanks. Yeah, and see you around.
All right, brother. All right, everybody. See you later. Enjoy.